I mentioned a week or so ago that sometimes I'll bet on college football games just to give me a reason to watch them. Now, I mean, I'm a huge college football fan, so I'll watch almost any college football game for no particular reason at all. But sometimes you put a little money on a game, it makes it more exciting. This is definitely a weekend where you might want to consider doing that. There's not a whole lot of marquee matchups this weekend in college football. I mentioned it yesterday when I did the SEC preview and predictions. Today it's time to do the top 25 preview and predictions. And there are not a whole lot of games, on paper anyway, that look very exciting. But we're going to run through them like we always do. I'm going to give you a preview and a prediction against the spread for every team in the top 25. Let's go.
We about to turn it on.
Hey, good morning, Internet. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, and I'm live for you on LouTube today. Man, thanks for watching. I sure do appreciate it also. And too, in addition to all that as well, subscribe to this channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year. Say it with me. Sometimes they're even watchable. I don't know about this one. This video might be like some of these games. Unwatchable. I don't know. If it is watchable, though, give it a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything or take you any time at all, but it's a huge help to me. I would appreciate it. All right, let's get started. All right, all the numbers I'm going to use in today's video come from betnow.eu, and they're accurate as of about 9 or 9:30 a.m. this morning. As usual, BetNow is sponsoring all these preview and prediction videos for this season. Click the link in the description of this video. It'll take you over to BetNow. Get yourself signed up. They're going to give you a bonus on whatever you deposit when you sign up. So if you deposit 100, they're going to have 200 in your account. Deposit 200, they're going to have 400 in your account. It's a 100% sign-up bonus going on now. That ends on the 16th, so make sure you take advantage of it. If you haven't signed up on betnow.eu, do that now. All right, no Thursday games this week, but we do have a Friday game with a top 25 team. Washington State goes on the road to take on Houston. This one comes on 9:15 over on ESPN. Washington State's a 9-point favorite. They've scored a ton of points this year. That's no surprise in a Mike Leach offense. I think they're averaging 52 or 53 points a game. Houston, of course, had the tough loss to Oklahoma week 1, but they did put up some points. But let's be real, everybody puts up points against Oklahoma. Houston looking for a big win here, an upset against a ranked Pac-12 team. Washington State's a 9-point favorite. This is a tough one to me. I'm still not completely sold on Washington State this year. They're ranked 20th. They had a good year last year, made it all the way up to around the top 10 before dropping a game late in the season, I think, to the Huskies, to Washington there. Mike Leach still yet to win a division. All those years at Texas Tech, now at Washington, has had some pretty good teams with some pretty good players. We all know the type of offense he runs, the air raid, spread you out, throw the ball 50, 60 times a game, whatever. Yet to win a division. Could this be the year? Maybe. Washington took a loss last week. Still got Oregon in that division too, so it's a tough division. We'll see. On the road at Houston, I'm going to take Houston in the 9 points here. I still like Houston's quarterback and their offense, and I think they're going to get a little bit better as the season goes along. Washington State obviously should win this game, but I'm going to take the Cougs to keep this one close. Give me Houston and the 9 points. All right, and then we got a whole bunch of Saturday games in the top 25. I'm going to run through these in chronological order. So if you're looking for a specific game, these are in order. So the 12 o'clock games, then the 2 and 3 and 4 o'clock games, the 6 and 7 o'clock games, and then the late night games. So we'll start with noon here. You have number 6, Ohio State on the road at Indiana, 12 o'clock on Fox. Now, we all know Ohio State's recent history over the last 2 years. A dominant team in the Big Ten with an unexplainable blowout loss at some point during the season, right? Last year it was Purdue. Year before it was Iowa. Could it be Indiana this year? I don't think so. If you look at where their losses have occurred, they tend to be a little bit later in the season. I think Ohio State's going to handle business here on the road. Now, they're a 16-point favorite right now. And just so you know, I already played this game when the line first came out at 15 because I thought it was going to go up, and it has gone up. It's gone up to 16. I still like it at 16. Obviously, I like it at 15 better, but it's at 16 now. Indiana's 2-0. and they're pass happy. They love to throw the ball around. The over-under here is 61. I would consider playing the under. Indiana's offense has looked pretty good against inferior competition. Obviously, Ohio State's going to be the best defense that they've played. Indiana's not going to put up the yards or points in this game, I don't think, that they've put up in the first two games. And the same may be true for Ohio State. Who's better, Indiana or Cincinnati? I'm not real sure. I still think Cincinnati's a pretty good team. Ohio State handled them easily last week, 42-0. I'm going to take Ohio State again here. I have confidence and faith in Ohio State's offense to put up points even on the road against Indiana. I think Justin Fields is going to have another big day. I think he's going to continue to improve. I mean, he's completing 76% of his passes. So this whole idea that all he's going to do is go to Ohio State and run around because he can't throw the ball has been proven to be ridiculous in the first 2 weeks of the season. I don't care who you're playing. If you complete 76% of your passes, you're doing pretty good. Georgia hasn't played the greatest competition either. Fromm's completing 73%. So 76%, anything in the 70s is just ridiculous, right? You're looking for 65, 66, 67% for your elite college quarterbacks. So he's throwing the ball well. We all know what he can do with his legs and running the ball. And Ohio State's defense is looking really, really good. I mentioned the shutout last week against Cincinnati. Don't think they'll get a shutout here. Like I said, Indiana, I think they're going to make some plays, particularly through the air. But give me the Buckeyes late as 16. All right, in-state rivalry game here. And I think I heard yesterday this is the last time this game is being played for a long, long time. It's not scheduled at any point in the future. So this could be the last time we see this matchup for a while. Pitt on the road at number 13, Penn State. Penn State has surprised me, and I think has surprised a lot of people with how good they have looked so far this season. I thought this would be sort of a transitional year for Penn State. They're playing a lot of young players, replacing their quarterback and running back from last year. The defense is young. Micah Parsons looks like one of the best linebackers in America. He's a sophomore, played a lot as a freshman. Now he's sort of the leader over there on the defense. This one comes on noon at ABC. Penn State's a 17-point favorite. Pittsburgh, they've lost 4 of their last 5 games. Not good. They're 105th in the nation in rushing offense. So they can't run the ball. So I guess they're going to have to try to throw it. Well, good luck with that. Penn State's allowing less than 200 yards per game through the air. I think Penn State wins this game easily. It's at home. I'm going to take the home team, the Nittany Lions, and lay that 17. All right, one of the most surprising teams so far this year in all of college football. Number 21, Maryland on the road at Temple, 12 o'clock, CBS Sports Network. Maryland's a 7.5-point favorite in this one. They're 2-0. Temple is 1-0 with a big win over Bucknell, whatever that is. They threw for over 500 yards in that game. So as of now, they have one of the top-ranked passing offenses in America in terms of passing yards per game. Again, they've only played one game, and it was against Bucknell, but they went over 500 yards passing in that game. They're not going to do that against Maryland, I can tell you that. Now, they may try, but again, like Penn State, Maryland has given up less than 200 passing yards per game. If you're giving up less than 200 passing yards per game in modern-day football, you're doing pretty good, unless you're playing Georgia, because Georgia doesn't try to throw for over 200 yards. Georgia gets 160. It's a banner day for us. But nevertheless, you're not playing Georgia. You're playing Temple. 7.5-point favorite. You know what? I'm going to keep riding the Maryland train. I'm going to hope that a lot of people are still asleep and don't understand how good Maryland has looked the first 2 weeks. And maybe that's why this line is so low. Now, Temple did beat Maryland last year, but again, watch Maryland play this year. This is not the same Maryland team we saw last year. Mike Locksley's got this team rolling, particularly on offense. They absolutely destroyed Syracuse last week. I'm going to try to ride the wave here and hope that people aren't paying attention, and that's why it's 7.5. Give me the Turtles, lay the points. New Mexico on the road at number 17, Notre Dame, 2:30 over on NBC. I've been taking a lot of favorites. I'm going to take the underdog here. Notre Dame is a 35-point favorite. I do think Notre Dame has the ability to beat New Mexico by 35, but Notre Dame has the big game the following week on the road at the University of Georgia. I'm going to take a gamble here that Notre Dame's going to be up fairly big in the second half, maybe choose to sit or rest some of their starters. I'm also going to take a gamble here that New Mexico can score 14 to 17 points in this game, even if it comes in the second half in garbage time, because I do not think Notre Dame would get up into the high 40s or 50s, which is what it would take to cover the 35 if New Mexico can score even 14 even 14-17. Notre Dame was off last week. Go back and look at their first game against Louisville. Obviously, they got gashed on the ground. Louisville ran for a ton of yards on Notre Dame, which is not good when you look forward to the Georgia game coming up next week. They're going to get a different type of test this week from New Mexico. New Mexico likes to throw the ball around. If you look at the Louisville game, Louisville passed the ball only 28 times and ran it 47 times. So they ran it almost twice as much as they passed it. You look at New Mexico, the exact opposite. They had 32 rushes and 40 pass attempts in their last game. So we sort of got to see what Notre Dame's defense would look like against the run in week 1 against Louisville. This week, we get to see what it looks like against a pass-happy team in New Mexico. But give me New Mexico and the 35 points. 3:30 over on ESPN. Now, this is a good game to watch here, and I'm sure I'll watch this one. But Stanford on the road at number 17, Central Florida. Huge game for Central Florida for obvious reasons. Central Florida has to have big wins over Power 5 teams. I'm not talking about 3 or 4 point wins. They need to blow Power 5 teams out. Now, with that being said, I don't think there's any way Central Florida is making a playoff. I don't think there's any way any group of 5 team is making a playoff. I'm not here to argue about whether that's fair or not. I just don't think it's ever going to happen. Not while we have a 4-team playoff. Now, if it ever expands to 6 or 8 teams, maybe that makes some room for somebody like Central Florida to get in. But you can't tell Central Florida that during the season. They, of course, are always going to have that as a goal, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And the only way in their mind potentially to ever reach that goal is obviously to go undefeated, blow out as many teams as they can, including and especially any Power 5 teams that they play. Stanford is a Power 5 team. Now, they got blown out by Southern Cal last week in sort of a surprising game there. Not really surprising that Southern Cal won, but the margin of victory, I think it was 45-20, if I'm not mistaken. And I think Stanford was up 20-7 in that game. And Southern Cal scored like 35 unanswered points or something to win 40 to whatever it was. It was just a massacre there the second half of that game. UCF gets this game at home. They're a 7.5 point favorite. It looks like KJ Costello will play this week after sitting out last week with sort of a concussion type deal going on with his head. He took a forearm or something to the head in week 1, and they went ahead and held him out in the Southern Cal game. I'm sure that had something to do with Stanford's struggles in that game, but I'm just going to be honest with you. I think Central Florida is a better team than Southern Cal. Stanford's got to go it's a long way to travel from California to Florida here, 3-hour time difference. I'm going to take Central Florida here and lay to 7.5 points. I think Central Florida has a point to prove. All right, 3:30 over on ABC. You got number 24 Southern Cal, who we just talked about. They're a 4-point road favorite against BYU. BYU coming off the big overtime win last week against Tennessee. 3:30 ABC. Southern Cal's a 4-point favorite. I'm not a believer in BYU. Barely beating Tennessee doesn't impress a whole lot of people. Now, for BYU, it's a big win because they get to go around and tell people that they beat an SEC team. But other than that, it was a pretty empty win, in my opinion. And really, Tennessee had that game won and gave it away with some busted coverages and just a potato defensive stand on the goal line that didn't go Tennessee's way. They just got pushed into the end zone there. Southern Cal, like I mentioned, looked really good last week. Listen, I was one of the people saying Clay Helton's not going to make it through this season. He might. Starting out 2-0, not very many people saw that coming. In fact, some people thought Southern Cal may start out 0-2. A lot of people thought they would be 1-1 after losing to Stanford, but they blew Stanford out. So they're 2-0. They cracked the top 25 poll at number 24. They look a lot better than I thought they would look. Clay Helton's got to be happy about that. Maybe he ends up keeping his job. I don't know. I think they're going to get a win here on the road at BYU. 4 points is not nearly enough. You can lay those. Give me the Trojans. Lay those 4 points. Arizona State on the road at number 18. Michigan State, 4 o'clock over on Fox. Michigan State is a 14-point favorite in this one and has one of the best defenses in all of America, particularly against the run. They gave up negative 70 yards rushing in week 1. In week 2, they gave up, I think, 60 yards. So for the season, Michigan State has given up about negative 10 yards rushing. Now, the competition hasn't been great, but again, it's just like, I know, but who have they played? Woo! Listen, Wisconsin has played South Florida and some other team that you've never heard of, and they haven't given up a single point all year. I don't care who you play. If back-to-back shutouts is impressive no matter who you play. That's impressive. Giving up negative rushing yards over a 2-game period is impressive. It doesn't matter who you play. I don't understand. Some of these people, they don't watch football. All they do is look at a box score and say, oh, big deal, Michigan State, beat Helen Keller School of the Blind. Who cares? Watch some of these games. Michigan State has an amazing defense, especially against the run. Arizona State, an up and down team, inconsistent. They look pretty good one week, terrible the next week. I don't think they're winning this game on the road at Michigan State. 14 points is a tricky number to me. I'd much rather it be 13, obviously. I could see, then you win the bet if Michigan wins by 2 touchdowns. I'm going to go ahead and take Michigan State, though. At worst, maybe I get a push here. And Michigan State wins something like 31-17 or something like that, and I will at least get my money back. Maybe Michigan State ends up winning by more and you win. I don't see Arizona State keeping this game very close. Michigan State doesn't have the most explosive offense in the world, but again, their defense is absolutely unbelievable. I think they'll hold Arizona State to not very many points, and I'm hoping that they can score enough to cover that 14. Give me Sparty, lay to 14. Oh, man, there's not a whole lot to say about this game, but number 19, Iowa, is a 2-point favorite. Now, this makes no sense at all. Number 19, Iowa is a 2-point favorite on the road at Iowa State. Give me Iowa State on the money line to win outright. Take the 2 points if you're nervous or scared. You can't win a game at Iowa State. If you don't believe me, ask some of these people that have YouTube channels. They will gladly tell you over and over and over again that you cannot beat Iowa State there. It's absolutely impossible. Iowa State, if these people are right, and I don't know if they are or not, but if these Big 12 YouTubers are right, Iowa State hasn't lost a home game since we landed on the moon. It must be. It's just impossible. That's all you need to know about this game. You don't need to know the records. You don't need to know who plays for these teams. You don't need to know their coaches. You don't need to know how good or bad they looked last week or who they played. All you need to know is that this game's played at Iowa State. Give me the Cyclones. I think that's what it is. I don't know, to win this game. All right, Idaho State on the road at number 11, Utah, 4:15 p.m. Not even on TV. Utah's a 36.5-point favorite in this one. Idaho State's 1-0, undefeated. Of course, so is Utah. They're the favorite in the Pac-12 South. But like I mentioned, Southern Cal appears to be coming on there. They play next week. In my opinion, the winner of that game will win the Pac-12 South. For that reason, Utah having this huge game next week against Southern Cal, and I think it's on the road. I think it's at Southern Cal too. Not that matters. I'm going to take Potato State here. And these 36.5 points. 36.5 is a lot of points to lay for Utah. They have a pretty good defense and they have a good ground game, but I don't think they're the type of team that's going to, sling the ball around 40 times and put up 40 or 50 points in this game. Well, maybe they get into the 40s. Maybe they win something like 42-10, which would be like a 32-point win. Anyway, I'm going to take Potato State, Idaho State, whatever it is, and the 36.5 points in that. All right, the letdown game of the week here. The Taters, number 1 Clemson on the road at the Fruit, Syracuse. Well, I remember what happened 2 years ago. Syracuse with a huge upset at home over the Taters. This game comes on 7:30 on ABC. The Taters are a 28-point favorite in this one. Man, what a disappointment Syracuse is. A lot of people had this game circled in the offseason as one of the best ACC games of the year. That's out the window. Syracuse looked like absolute dumpster juice last week against the Turtles. Maryland just absolutely humiliated them. The new quarterback they have in Syracuse, I thought he was going to be better than what he's looked so far this year. He hasn't been impressive at all. Now, he's a first-year starter. I'm sure he'll get a little bit better as the season goes along. Not sure how much better he's going to get against this Clemson defense, though. We saw what they did to Kellen Mond and the Texas A&M offense. And regardless of what you think about Syracuse or Texas A&M, no matter how good or bad you think they are, Texas A&M has a better offense than Syracuse. Please believe that. 28 is a lot of points, especially to lay as a road team. I'm going to take Syracuse in the 28 here. Maybe. I don't know, because they got absolutely blown out by Maryland, and Maryland looked good even the week before that. Maybe Syracuse got caught looking ahead a little bit last week. I'm not saying that's why they lost to Maryland, but maybe that's why the score was what it was. Maybe they just overlooked Maryland for whatever reason. It was a non-conference game. Maryland wasn't very good last year. I don't know. But 28 points is a lot to lay on the road. I definitely think Clemson could win this game by 28. I'm going to sort of roll the dice here. I'm going to take the Fruit to cover that 28. Give me Syracuse and all those points. Hawaii on the road at number 23. Washington, 7:30 on the Pac-12 network. The Huskies are a 21-point home favorite in this one. coming off a very disappointing and head-scratching loss last week to a average at best Cal team. Now, it was one of those weird types of situations where you had weather delays and, the game ended up not ending till like 3 a.m. East Coast time. Jacob Eason did not look good. Nobody on Washington looked good. The defense played okay. It was a low-scoring game. I think was it 14-13 they lost or whatever? I can't remember the exact score. It was a close game. No offense though, which was alarming. 21 points. Hawaii is going to sling the ball around. They've got a great passing game. They're back to the old like fun and gun thing that they used to run under June Jones many moons ago. I'm going to take Hawaii here in the 21 points, and that's disappointing for me to do. I thought Jacob Eason, now he looked amazing week 1. I don't know what happened last week, but like I said, hard to put that loss just on Jacob Eason. Washington played bad all the way around, really. And we have seen these weather delays have weird effects on games in the past. South Carolina ended up beating Missouri last year in a game that was delayed multiple times by weather when Missouri was clearly the better team. But I don't know. I'm pumping my brakes on Washington. They were my pick to win the Pac-12. They definitely didn't look like a team that could win the Pac-12 last week. We'll see how they bounce back this week at home against Hawaii. But I just think Hawaii throwing the ball around is going to put up too many points for Washington to win by 21. I do think Washington will win, but I'm going to take the Rainbow Warriors and those 21 points. Florida State, Dumpster Juice University on the road at number 25, Virginia, 7:30 on the ACC network. Virginia, ranked 25th, is a 7.5-point home favorite in this one, and that ain't nearly enough, Jack. If you're wondering if Florida State is really as bad as they've looked the first 2 weeks, yes, they are. This isn't a hiccup. This isn't a bump in the road. See last year as exhibits 1 through 12. They just looked terrible all of last year. They come out this year and look equally as bad. They lost a close game to Boise State in week 1, and then Florida State fan was trying to tell you that Boise State was a great team. No, they're not. Boise State is nowhere near the team that they were 10 or so years ago under Chris Peterson when they were beating teams like Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. They're not that team, Jack. They went out the following week, Boise State, after humiliating Florida State, they went out the following week and barely beat something called Marshall. Now Florida State fans try to tell you, well, Marshall's really good too. No, the only thing that's true is that you're not good. You're terrible. And guess what the main reason why is? Willie friggin' Taggart. I don't care how mad it makes you. I had a guy in the comment section yesterday tell me the only reason I don't like Willie Taggart is because he's a black man in a position of power. Hell's wrong with you, sir? Have you bumped your head? Listen, it doesn't matter what color a coach is. If he's not any good, he's not any good. 2 of my favorite coaches in America are David Shaw and James Franklin. Check the skin color, Hoss. What an idiot. What about Butch Jones? Do I like Butch Jones? What about Will Muschamp? Do I ever ride him? What a stupid comment to make. Isn't it possible that I don't think Willie Taggart is a good coach because he's a terrible coach? Not because of his skin color. Look what he's doing to your program, sir. He's not the answer. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's in over his head. He could be green or orange. It wouldn't matter. Hell, he could be Donald Trump's skin color, whatever color that is. And I don't have any idea. He's not any good. Virginia's defense is for real. They've got the second best quarterback in the ACC who has played like the best quarterback in the ACC, in my opinion, through the first 2 weeks of the season. Virginia's defense not getting enough attention. They are for real, and they will hit you hard, and they're going to hit you hard. Cam Akers is going to be hurting after this game. I like Cam Akers. I think he's the best player Florida State has, and I do think he's an NFL running back. Not a whole lot else to get excited about with Florida State, including head coach Willie Taggart, who, I don't know if I mentioned, doesn't know what he's doing and is in over his head. Give me the Wahoo-Hoos, or whatever the hell they're called here, Virginia at home, and laid a 7.5. OU on the road at UCLA, and there's a funny story here. 8 o'clock on Fox, OU's a 23-point favorite. Just like the game earlier, I played this game when the line first came out. It first came out, OU was favored by 21.5. I said, I got to jump on that now. So just so you know, truth or whatever, I played OU when it was minus 21.5. It's now all the way up to 23, and I don't think anybody would be surprised if it goes above 24, which is another sort of magic number in betting, but it wouldn't surprise me to see this one get any higher. At UCLA, no one is showing up for the UCLA games. This is bad for Chip Kelly. Obviously, losing games is bad. He was terrible last year. Can't win a game this year either. No offense, supposed to be some kind of a guru. Watching Chip Kelly try to coach almost makes it look like Willie Taggart knows what he's doing. That's how bad Chip Kelly has been. And now no one is coming to the games. The stadium holds, how many people does the stadium hold? 90,000, whatever it is. I don't know. There was 30-something thousand people at the game last weekend. It looks like there's going to be about that same amount of people there this week. So you know what they did at UCLA? They contacted every single season ticket holder at UCLA and gave all of them 4 additional free tickets to this game, just to try to get warm bodies to show up to watch the Bruins get absolutely humiliated and ran out of their own building by Jalen Hurts and the Oklahoma Sooners, which is exactly what's going to happen. I don't know what 4 people anybody's going to find that wants to go watch this massacre. I wouldn't. I can tell you that right now. OU will roll in this game. I have it at 21.5. It's at 23 now. That still ain't enough. Listen, Oklahoma's, this is going to be great. One of the worst offenses in all of football, UCLA, against one of the worst defenses in all of football, Oklahoma. Who's going to win that matchup? Well, just like when a really good defense plays a really good offense, the defense usually comes out on top. I'm going to say that again. The bad defense is going to beat the bad offense. UCLA will struggle to score against a piss-poor Oklahoma defense. Oklahoma will score in the 50s in this game. Give me the Sooners late at 23. If it goes up to 24, you can lay that too. This will be a bloodbath. Number 12, Texas coming off an emotional loss at home to the Corn Dogs on the road at Rice, 8 o'clock on the CBS network. Texas is a 32-point favorite. Give me Rice. I think Texas is better than 32 points against Rice, but listen, they're going to be beat up. That was a physical game last week. You see a letdown a lot of times after a huge game like that. 32 points is a lot. Do I think Texas is 32 points better than Rice? Of course I do. Rice isn't that good. But I just can't lay 32 the week after Texas played LSU. Give me Rice. Are they the Owls? Pretty sure that they are. Give me the Owls. Woo, woo. Yep, I need all those 32 points, though. State at Boise State. Boise State's ranked number 22. This one comes on 10:15 on ESPN2. Boise State's a 31.5-point favorite. Like I said, I don't think Boise State is the same team they were 10 years ago. Now, they're not a bad team. They're a good team. But they're not Central Florida, okay? They're not Boise State from 10 years ago. I'm going to take Portland State there in the 31.5. And then last, you got Montana on the road at number 15, Oregon. Oregon's a 37-point favorite, 10:45 on the Pac-12. I'm going to take Oregon in that one. They scored 1 million points last week after losing to the Barn in week 1. They're at home again against another nobody. I think they go out and do it again. They'll score at least in the 50s, and I can't see Montana getting to the 20s. So I think Oregon wins this game by 40-something points. Give me the Ducks, late at 37. All right, that's it. That's your preview and prediction against the spread for all the top 25 games coming up in week 3 of the 2019 college football season. If you're wondering why there was no SEC teams in this video, it's because I did the SEC games yesterday. I do all the SEC games every Tuesday. I do all the top 25 games every Wednesday. And I do all the other games that are of interest to me on Thursday. So there's 3 of these videos every week. And the order and the schedule and what I cover in each of those 3 days never changes. SEC on Tuesday, top 25 on Wednesday, other games that are interesting to me on Thursday. So, like Miami, for example, is not ranked and they're not in the SEC, but they're interesting to me. I'll probably talk about that game tomorrow. There's some other interesting games too. TCU has an interesting game. Anyway, you get the idea. So we'll do another one of these tomorrow. I appreciate you guys watching and have a great morning.